I'm Richard Cuff, and welcome to a special edition of the PS Factor. My guest and good friend, Mr. Harold Hobbs II.
Yeah.
Harold, welcome.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
You are welcome. And listen, you are the first to get to try out our new location, the set here, and this is kind of prophetic because coming up, we're going to make a pretty big announcement about some more moves that we're making on the investment side.
Sure.
But that's where I want to begin the conversation.
It's a privilege. Thanks for having me.
Man, let me tell you, it's the insurance business is not an easy grind.
No, it's not.
But I know that I know a couple friends. I have a couple friends in the insurance business.
Sure.
Ain't nothing like those residual checks that come after you have been grinding for a minute.
That's absolutely correct. I mean, it's not an easy grind, but it is very rewarding in terms of the people and families we get to protect and help. And, we're generously compensated, by having residuals. So it's good.
Yeah, I love that. I remember one friend was retiring, and his annual, just go to the mailbox and pick up a check was like $78,000. I was like, good Lord.
A lot of hard work.
That was a lot. That's a lot. I remember back in the day, you're too young to remember this, but I love to tell people when they're too young.
That's fine. Okay? I'll get there one day.
Stick around there, young fella.
Yeah, sounds like I'm going to earn it.
Yeah. We used to have the independent life insurance policy. My mom used to have it hanging right by the door. And the insurance man would literally come by and collect that like $1.25 monthly policy. But back in the day, I grew up where that was important, especially to black families. We kind of gotten away from it.
Yes.
Let's talk about starting right there. If I have 6 pillars that I talk about of wealth. The first 3 are build, buy, and birth.
Right.
The first is to build your credit, buy a house, and then birth a business. But let's talk about that, birthing that business, because I feel like the very first business any family should start is to literally incorporate the family business.
I agree. I agree. Wouldn't it make sense to do that? Like you said, once they have built and established credit, have some cash, the next thing to do is to set your family up to be incorporated, right? And that may mean creating a trust, which you always should advise an attorney to do that. But I would agree, absolutely. It's one of the ways you can set yourself and your family up and your legacy up down the road.
There's a great book that I recommend and have been recommending in some of my social media posts. I've been doing a book review. It's called Wealth Secrets of the Affluent, Secrets to building success and asset protection.
Sure.
Building wealth and asset protection are really important. But one of those main keys that this book emphasizes is putting together that team of advisors, the right team.
Right.
And you basically touched on it, following the advice or advising an attorney when you're setting up a trust.
Absolutely.
But you're capable of talking to an individual about insurance.
All the time, right? And so in terms of insurance, we typically see this scenario play out a lot of times where you have people or families are a little bit more savvy, or sometimes people, who are not as savvy and not knowledgeable want the knowledge. They'll come to us and ask us about, well, how do I fund this trust, all right? I may have collected assets through real estate, through cash, but, does insurance play a role, in incorporating my family? And it absolutely does. And what most of us in our community don't know is that's how a lot of affluent people pass down wealth from another generation, by making the trust an owner of the actual policy. Right. And so other family members can get involved and write the policy or pay the premiums towards a policy that it's not going to outlive them. And so that the trust becomes the owner and they reap the death benefit when they pass away. In other words, the trust would be the beneficiary.
Absolutely. So what is happening with each death of each family member, it's adding to that trust.
Absolutely.
That amount is growing.
Absolutely.
And interest is accruing, and then the trust is able to buy other assets and create more wealth.
Absolutely.
We're facing a pivotal moment in the history of African Americans.
Yes.
Right now, we're sitting on 1.6 trillion. Can you say hallelujah?
Hallelujah.
1.6 trillion.
And going up.
And it's going up.
Yes.
It's like and I don't want to get into the politics of why we're having the conversations
Sure.
that we're having now with the, crossing out African American studies and all of that. I guarantee you the one thing that they ain't talking about canceling. Florida might be the place where woke comes to die, but it's damn sure ain't the place where our money comes to die, right?
That is definitely right.
So we got $1.6 trillion, and I don't hear anybody, none of them Republican politicians talk about we don't want your money.
That's crazy. That's right.
And what we need to recognize
Right.
is that we have $1.6 trillion in spending power
Sure.
right now. It's projected that by the end of 2024, 25,
Sure.
it'll be $1.8 trillion. By the end of 2027, $2 trillion of spending power.
Absolutely. That's so amazing. That is so amazing. It just to reiterate, is amazing time to be African American, right? We are kind of making up the back end for maybe how maybe our parents weren't able to take advantage of some of the things that we have today, and to see, this 2 or 3 generations, right, are basically my grandchildren to walk even into more wealth, right? So I'm glad, I'm ecstatic to be African American today and be a black owned business and to work with counterparts like you and my brothers and sisters into this amazing time. So,
well, I am excited because we have yet to show what we can do. I am in no way diminishing or dismissing the conversations that we need to have about race.
Sure.
and cultural issues and the statues and and racism and institutional racism and all those other things. We have to have those conversations.
Sure.
But they cannot be in a vacuum where we talk about nothing else but that.
Absolutely.
We're leaving out an amazing conversation that we should be having. I'll give you a perfect example. I started having the conversation of generational wealth
Sure.
with my son.
Right.
He was 8 years old.
All right.
God told me to anoint his head with oil and,
Right.
and bless him with everything you got.
My son's 8, so
Okay, so
we have to anoint them after
we're gonna
this.
go
Yeah.
anoint his head with oil.
Right.
I anointed his head with oil, and
Right.
and every day, I kid you not, or at least every week, we had some kind of conversation about what his responsibility is with the wealth
Sure.
that has now been handed over to him.
Absolutely.
Even though you're 8 years old, Cameron, I've given you everything. It's yours, right?
Absolutely.
And it comes with responsibility. Cameron was 9.5 years old. He said, now he fully understood it. He said,
Sure.
Dad, I can't wait till you die. I'm like, what?
In a good way.
And he was like, no, I don't mean like I
Right.
wish you were dead.
Absolutely.
He says, I can't wait till you die because I know that when you die, I get to take all your money
Sure.
and put it together with my money and give it to my son.
Sure.
And he gets to take that money and give it to his son.
Absolutely.
And he gets to take that. And he was excited about generational wealth.
Absolutely.
I think this is a great opportunity for us to get our children excited about what's to come,
Sure.
as opposed to spending all of our energy educating them on what has happened, what they did to us, why, what was happening in the past.
Sure.
What happened in the past is in the past.
Sure.
And we'll find ways to honor the memory.
Sure.
But if we don't focus on what's right around the corner and the opportunities that exist, we're going to miss some great opportunities to invest.
And I think that's why you and I share a kindred spirit, because I am passionate about educating not only the people here, but also the next generation on how to handle wealth responsibly, right? If it's given without responsibility, without lessons, we may, it won't work out very well, right? But with being able to educate my 8-year-old son about how money works, about how wealth is, and my son already knows about life insurance because that's what his daddy does.
Yes.
My son already has life insurance, right? My family as a whole has life insurance with our trust, and my wife has it. So we share the same sentiments where my son knows he's going to be taken care of. Now the point is, now all we have to do now is to make sure that he fulfills that destiny. But when my son graduates in college and starts his own family and has kids, he'll now be able to pass that on to his children. And now we've created momentum in the Hobbs family, right? So that my grandchildren, or my great grandchildren, whether I see them or not, I've already started that wave of momentum of creating wealth in our family. And next thing you know, you have 5 generations or 10 generations of my family that are all taken care of because it all started with one person's decision on being able to teach responsibility down the line to my kid.
let me tell you, there are three main things you're going to hear me talk about
Sure.
all the time: group economics, political alliances,
Yes.
and generational wealth.
Yes.
What I'm going to do is we're going to end this segment, guys. I want you to hang around because we're going to do part 2 of this conversation with my good friend Harold Hobbs II.
Absolutely.
And let's give some contact information about your company and
Sure.
how individuals can reach you.
Sure. So I'm really one Google search away. I have a pretty uncommon name,
Yeah.
Hobbs. So if you just Google the Hobbs Agency, I should show up. You can find me on my website at thehobbsagency.com, or you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and that's it for right now. Right.
All right. So there you go, guys. You hear it. Thehobbsagency.com. Check out my man, Harold Hobbs II, and hang around. We're going to post a video. You'll see part 2 somewhere floating around on the website or whatever. But till next time, I'm Richard Cuff. Take care. I'm Richard Cuff. Welcome back to part 2 of my conversation with Harold Hobbs II here on the PS Factor. Harold.
Thanks for having me back.
Yes,
part
sir.
2. Yes.
Yeah, part 2, man. We had a really good conversation. We were talking in general, but I'd like to hear like something specific that you're doing, applying insurance in your life.
Absolutely. So one of the things that we were talking about off camera was my strategy that I teach my clients about how to set their children up for generational wealth. And this is in addition to whatever gifts, assets, or investments they may have for the child. Is insurance is a great way to set your child and set your great grandchildren up. And so right now my son has, we would use like a permanent or cash value policy. If you don't know what that is, you can simply do a Google search and figure out. But basically what it is once you pay a premium every single month or every year, and the policy accumulates cash value over time if the insured person doesn't pass away, which in this case it would be my son. When he turns a certain age, that policy will have X amount of dollars in the policy, and that money can be used for whatever you choose. So some of my clients choose it to pay for educational expenses like tuition. Some of them may use the cash value to buy their child a car. And then eventually you can use it for other life events like, giving your child, down payment on a house, or maybe you want to give them some cash as a wedding present, right? And then the grandparent can pretty much own that policy and then eventually turn it over to their child. So imagine being able to give your child, the responsibility of a life insurance policy, which may be $100, $150 a month, instead of a $300, $400, $500, $600 bill from the federal government for their education.
Well, absolutely. I'll put this into perspective. The average person says, well, I need to buy a car, a used car.
Absolutely.
Let's get a used car, $20,000.
Sure.
Buy here, pay here.
Sure.
Buy here, pay here, 28% interest, whatever they're going to stick it on to you. And you go in and you're thinking, well, I make $500 a week, $2,000 a month, or whatever that is. I can make a $400 car payment.
Sure.
But look at what's in that car payment.
Exactly.
Number one, the inflated price because you bought the car from the buy here, pay here, as opposed to directly from Miss Sally before she sold it to the car dealership.
Absolutely.
That's the first thing. And the second thing, you're paying that extra amount for that money.
Sure.
But real blessing is by using the money from your insurance policy, you're paying interest on the money,
right?
But you're paying it back to yourself.
That's you put it right. The interest is pretty much you're paying it back to yourself. That's the whole point, right? If you don't use the policy and pass away, you can recoup your premiums back plus interest, right? And there are different companies out there that pay more competitive interest rates than others. And so eventually, as you pay into the policy, it snowballs. And the interest accumulates. And next thing you look up down the road, maybe yourself or your child has enough money to where they can add this to their retirement, right? It supplements their retirement, plus the death benefit on the policy never goes away. So it's two parts. It's cash value plus death benefit if you pass away. And if you don't, you still have the cash that you put in the policy.
Well, one of the things that I know that makes a difference is time. And you can't hit 63 years old and say, oh man, I'm going to do that.
You're 63?
Yeah.
You look good.
Oh, thank you. You know, I do try. Yeah, but when you can't hit 63 years old and then decide that I'm going to do these things, it's when you're 21, 22 years old. But we've been talking some serious strategies, and I mentioned in the first segment the 3 B's: build, buy, and birth.
Absolutely.
Build your credit and your savings.
Absolutely.
Buy a house.
Absolutely.
And birth a business. We took that business to be your family business. But let's say now you're ready to actually start a business. Then the next thing after that is insurance, because when you lay the foundation for insurance, you can protect the business, because the business now is an asset.
Right.
And it's not only is it an asset, it's an income producing asset.
Right.
And some assets, they grow just in value, your house, but your house doesn't produce income.
Sure.
Your business can grow in value and produce income, and you can take that money. And so that's the mindset that you need to have, is when you're thinking about building a business, think of the business as an asset. A good friend of mine described he said, if you don't know the difference between a asset and a liability, kids, cover your ears. If you can wear it on your ass, it's not an asset. Okay? Simple as that. And those are wealth secrets. But the other thing that the affluents know is to take insurance, investments, and inheritance,
absolutely,
and make that the focus.
Absolutely. I would agree 100%. Actually, I'm not considered a financial planner. I provide an aspect of financial planner, but a real financial planner that would cost you $300, $400, $500, maybe up to upwards of $1,000 an hour, that do planning for large organizations or wealthy people, would tell you that insurance is a part of the cornerstone of your financial plan. So when most people think about wealth as accumulation, that's a part of it. And they think about investments, but really you need all three, right? You need inheritance, insurance, investments, and then inheritance, to really complete the whole wealth picture. Because what happens if you pass away, right? Then whatever you could accumulate could stop with you if you're using your job. Maybe you are the business that provides the revenue for your company. If you die, get sick, right? You can't continue to work those things. Then how are you going to contribute to the investing or the inheritance part? That's why insurance is actually considered a part of that wealth part, because you need to be able to maintain your financial picture if you can't create revenue for your family or your business.
That's exactly the way to look at insurance. We often look at insurance from a standpoint of if a calamity hits, like car insurance or home insurance. But even in the world of business, there's this thing called keyman insurance.
Absolutely.
And keyman just simply says, what happens if you come there and you, Bob, and Billy are supposed to have a meeting, and Billy has all of the great ideas.
Exactly.
And next thing you know, did you hear?
Exactly.
Billy died.
Exactly.
No, not Billy.
Right.
Not Billy.
And on the business valuation, Billy, based on his skills and his connections and his education, he would maybe worth millions of dollars in revenue towards that company.
Yeah.
So how are you going to replace a Billy, right?
That's exactly.
And your company's going to continue to lose X amount of money
while you're looking.
Exactly. So a life insurance policy on a key person like Billy would help cover that gap until your business can figure out the direction of where to go and from there. So that's an excellent point. Man,
I can tell you this: we're announcing this week, and by the time you're watching this video, we will have already opened the Miriam Arcuff Innovation Center.
Sure.
As you guys know, my wife passed away back in August 15th, 2021. So all our financial plans got triggered, but the plan wasn't that I would be the one here. It was always, I set her up so that she would be set. Only thing that I was going to do was hang around after my death and haunt the house. I wasn't going to haunt the whole house. I was just going to like haunt the welcome mat.
Right.
Just every time a dude rang the doorbell, like bing bong, like boo.
Right.
People running off. Miriam, come on. Why do all the men keep running? Because I ain't going to live a perfect...
All the potential candidates.
Yeah, that was
right at the doorstep.
No, I wasn't going to leave. And then she said something else. She said, we're going to spend eternity together. And I would always tell her.
I like that.
No, we're not. Because I said, till death do us part. And when I die, I'm going to heaven. and hang out with Natalie Cole. Because that's who I was supposed to marry. I was only 14 years old, and Natalie was about 23, 24.
Right.
Bro, if I could have got her on the phone for 30 minutes,
right.
I would have pulled Natalie Cole.
Yeah, you're lucky your wife not here. Your wife will have a conversation with you when you see her.
Yeah, she'll show up tonight. Like, hey, say it now. Talk.
Yeah, she may be hot you, so when you come home and you see your welcome mat doing funny things, right?
Yeah, exactly. Moving stuff around in the house.
Exactly.
But I'm excited about opening the Miriam R. Cuff Innovation Center because it's there that we're going to continue conversations like this.
Absolutely.
Because I think that now is the time for us to begin to develop a plan and a strategy that our children can implement.
Sure.
And we have the great opportunity to lay the foundation for the term trust fund baby to actually become pretty common in our community. And I think that that's the next thing, the next step here. I want to just talk about this recent election. You guys may not be maybe watching it somewhere else, but we're talking about Jacksonville, Florida here. This was pathetic election, man. And we're talking about these great moves, these great opportunities. What has to happen to get more involvement, engagement? What?
I think in our community, right, if we're talking about engagement, we have to be aware of who's in our community, right? Jacksonville can be it's one of the second, third largest.
No, it's actually geographically, it's the largest city in the country.
It's the largest as far as land mass, but sometimes, I feel like our community is too spread thin, right? Yeah. I think one of the strategies or maybe one of the missions we should have going forward is to understand who's in your community, right? Who's doing business, right? Who has a voice. If you have a voice and you're not using it, maybe that's something that you can contribute. So I'd like to see I think going forward, I think the community should plan on sticking together on things like this. We're not going to see the same on every political issue, but we do have a few things in common that we can unite behind, and that's actually treating each other with respect.
Yeah, I've always said it, and on most of my posts, you'll see the two hashtags, hashtag only love will, hashtag reverse the hate.
Exactly.
And I think that as you know, and it's been said before, in order for the evil to prosper, the good just need to do nothing. And if good people continue to do nothing, yes, the evil are going to continue to prosper.
Sure.
I am excited about the prospect of having you
absolutely
come to my audience more often, bring more information. We're going to figure out a way to actually do a project and put together that skill. Y'all, he mentioned to me his background, and Harold's talking about his background in audio visual. And
it was, that's what I originally went to school for.
Then you got married and
then I got broke. And I needed a real career. So I actually started my career in finance. I was a banker years ago, and that's when I first got my life insurance license, and I was a notary. And then I did finance and insurance, and I jumped out, did some marketing, and then I found my way back into insurance. And I've been in business for myself for 5 years, but I've been in finance for like 10, 15 years. So
well, congratulations on the business success.
Sure.
I wish you tons of success in the future.
Same to you. Yeah.
Hey man, so let's do this. Harold Hobbs II, the owner of the Hobbs Agency.
Yep, the Hobbs Agency.
The Hobbs Agency. You can find him on the internet. Google him. Google is something else. And I got to do another show specifically about this new Chat GPT and the AI.
You haven't done it yet?
Oh, bro, I'm doing it. I wrote my whole book this weekend.
Really?
Yeah, bro,
In a weekend.
I wrote an entire book just communicating with it because it's a friend of mine said that's the devil.
I don't know about the devil.
I sometimes think it's like some real people behind there just making us think that it's smart, but that thing is really...
It is amazing. I've written emails. I've written letters to some of my insurance companies. I've written blogs. In a weekend.
So now that we got time, maybe Chat GPT, I think, is going to free us up and give us time to
AI is amazing.
Talking to other people and getting to know the human side. But man, we're going to spend a lot more time here.
I can't wait.
In our space.
It's a pleasure.
Love this. I love what they've done with the new set. It's not a real bar, y'all, because no beer flowing up in here. This is all props. Don't worry about it.
Just water.
Yeah, just water. Plenty good water.
Right.
But Man, it's been a great time. I thank you for coming
Thanks for
out.
having me. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, so
it was a pleasure.
As I will always say, the mic is always on, the door is always open, and you are always welcome.
Thank you.
Guys, till next time, I'm Richard Cuff. Be sure to check me out on Instagram at I am Richard Cuff, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok at Richard Cuff, and richardcuff.com as well. So till next time, take care.